Okay, welcome back to Richard's Toy Room. Oh, we have something really cool and special here today. This is the Mego Fonzie motorcycle, and it's motorized. Not 100% sure what it does. I think I've seen a video of this once online, but it does have a special mechanism where it like kicks some kind of thing out on the bottom here, and then I think it turns around and goes the other way. But this one is supposedly not working. Actually, I haven't tried it, but I don't think it's going to do anything because, first of all, I can't really move the switch, and I don't want to break it, but it seems to be seized or stuck or something. So what we're going to try to do is, you can see the chrome's all worn off this tank, so we're going to re-chrome that. It does have some wear on some of these other side things here. Not bad. So I guess there's really no sense trying to put batteries in this because I can't even move the switch. So we're going to have to take this apart. Hopefully it's all screwed together because that'll make it 1,000 times easier if it is. So let's start taking screws out and see what happens. I'm sure the motor's probably seized anyway. They always are on these old toys. The other thing is, I know there's a little bit of corrosion in the battery compartment, although that's not really a major concern to me. But these old toys have like little plastic gears that are very common to split. So that's another thing I want to take a look at. So we may need to replace one or more gears in this thing as well. Looks like there's no wires going up to the switch, so and that is where some of the corrosion is, which you probably can't see, but maybe you can. It's down up in there, one of the terminals of the battery. So the motor and everything's in here. And this looks like it can be disassembled. And I think we're probably going to have to do that. Although I could probably get this working without doing that. We might try that first. Let's see how this is put together. I can see how to get the front axle off, but that doesn't appear to have anything to do with holding this tank on. Now I can see a rivet down in here, but I believe that's just holding the battery terminals in. Obviously this is a separate piece. I just can't quite see how to get it off of here, and I don't want to break it. It almost looks like it should slide right off of here. Oh crap, of course this switch being in the way and not moving is keeping this from sliding back all the way. I think I'm going to have to spray some oil or something in here and hopefully free this switch up. Let's try some electrical cleaner. There's quite a bit of green in there. So it wants to go. It's just so seized up. So I will have to take this apart, unfortunately. Let's try this switch one more time before we take a break here. Ah! Got it. There we go. Got it off. Whew, that was a pain in the butt. Well, we know even that wouldn't have got this thing working anyway, because we can't get this motor going even by itself. So that's going to have to be totally disassembled. All right, so we're going to pause this because I only got 12 minutes of battery left. I could just pop another one in, but I'm going to have to take this whole thing apart. It's not a big deal. I don't really think it's something I need to show. But if you look on here, there's like little flat tabs, like here and here and here. So you bend these back here and here and here and here. And then you could pull all these panels apart. And that's about the only way I'm going to be able to get in there and free up that motor. So I'll show it to you when I get it apart, but I'm not going to show you all the ins and outs. Oh, nice thing about this, I just noticed there's a screw on top of this switch, so I can take this completely apart so I can clean it a lot easier. Yeah, that'll be a lot more efficient. All right, so join me back later when we get a little bit farther into this. Okay, well, I don't know if I'll be able to thoroughly explain this. It's actually all metal gears in here. And you can see there's really nothing wrong with it. And if I jumper these wires, you can see it works. The problem is this second shaft over here, there's another gear that goes on there. And it turns the mechanism with the little gear with a cam on it that makes the little key pop out of the bottom, which is what I believe makes it like go up on one wheel so it'll like spin around. The problem is this gear on this back axle here is fixed, and so is the middle gear on this one on the wheel axle, and they both engage with each other. The problem is neither one will turn when this is all put together. It makes absolutely no sense. Theoretically, you would think it should work, but there's no damage, there's nothing bent, there's nothing gears messed up. It's just nobody's been in here as far as I can tell. It's just there's something totally screwy going on. So it doesn't make sense to me. I just don't understand. I can't figure it out. But that's the next thing I have to go for and try. So that's what I'm going to fiddle with. Because like I said, I really don't see how it would ever work. Nothing will turn. It's like it's jammed, seized in the way it sits. So that's where I am at this point. Nothing's ever easy. Anyway, so I found what the problem ended up being was this gear right here, this crown gear that runs off the axle, the first gear when you see off the motor here, was stuck. Now, it's kind of hard to do this backwards in the camera. I really can't see what I'm doing. But this first gear here turns this gear on this other axle, which I thought was stuck, but ended up, it's supposed to be stuck. It's supposed to be move only with the axle. That turns this next gear here, which I also thought might have been stuck and not supposed to be stuck, but it's supposed to be connected to the axle, which in turn turns this gear, which is freewheeling, which turns this final gear with the little cam on it, which is also freewheeling, which makes this little thing here. It's always down, but it'll push it so that it stays, it won't go back up. And what that does is it causes this wheel to rise up, and then I believe that makes him like kind of turn in a circle, or I'm not exactly sure if it goes a full circle or just like a quarter turn or something. And so you know, every revolution of this gear and this thing makes him turn a little bit. So anyway, just so I can show you that it actually does work, 9-volt battery. It doesn't run at 9 volts, but these are what I usually use on things that don't have lights in them to kind of kickstart when doing these old motors. And you can see, if you want to watch this little thing on the bottom here, so there we go. This motoring part is now fixed. I got it all back together. I made sure the ones that are supposed to turn, turn. The ones that aren't supposed to turn, don't turn. Or I should say are attached to the axle. And everything's oiled and greased. So now I just need to put the lid back on and solder the wires. But there's also one other thing in there, and that's this little doohickey that it attaches that little hole that's right next to it there. Backwards, it goes here like that, and looks like part of it's worn away. It's something that runs on the gears up here. It just kind of rubs on it while it's turning and kind of makes a, I guess it's supposed to sound like a motorcycle or something. It's like a, so I'm going to try to find a piece of metal that I can replace that with, since it's kind of worn. And then I can put the lid back on and start working on the rest of the cycle. So that's where we are at this point. I got the really corroded parts here in some vinegar. They're all actually getting pretty clean there. They're almost done. I mean, I've got this like completely disassembled. I mean, I don't think I could take one more thing apart on this thing. So anyway, now it's reverse. I'm going to try, I'm thinking, I'm going to see if I can get some new stickers for this. This one's all faded over here. I mean, I could probably come up with something if I did like a scan, but I don't know. I mean, that'll be my last resort. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these off. There's 3 stickers. And, I mean, I can reuse that one and that one in a pinch. This one's kind of, but it is original. So, I mean, there's like that kind of like, do I keep it all original or do I make it look real nice? But I want to try to de-yellow some of this. You can see where like where the seat was, it's real white, but where the tail, what's that called? Shoot, I can't think of what the word is right now, but where the splash guard for the tire there, see how it's yellowed? And some of the rest of the bike is kind of yellowed too. I'm going to see if I can freshen that up and make it look a little whiter. Besides that, just got to do the chrome pieces and reassemble, and everything else looks good. So stay tuned. Update on the Fonzie motorcycle here. If you remember this part here, I apologize for the noise in the background. The 3D printer's running, and I really kind of have to make a choice between video and printing sometimes, and right now I got to do both. But anyway, this is that little part that I told you that it runs underneath the top of this and onto the gears to make a noise. Well, I took an old Altoids can, and it seemed like it was about the same consistency metal as that, roughly. I creatively recreated it there. I just got to figure out how I'm going to attach it, because it was on with a little rivet which is no longer reusable. So that's the last part for putting this motor chassis together, and I just solder the wires to it. So I just got to figure that out. I got the switch terminals all cleaned up. They're ready to go. Switch and battery. I did touch up, oops. I did touch up some of the chrome parts with my chrome pen. These weren't really bad at all, so I basically only had to touch up a few spots on them, and I had to redo that switch handle there. It was kind of worn. Okay, so real quick here, before I put this all back together, I just want to show you how I fix this thing. So if you remember, this is the lid, batteries touch here and here, and here's that little doodad that I had to replace. And I was trying to figure out how to reattach it. I didn't think glue would hold up, and I thought a nut and bolt would be a little obtrusive. I was just looking around, and just something caught my eye, because I'm working on some Mego stuff. And if you take a peek here, this type 1, see how that the wrists are riveted there? That little rivet that goes through there. Both sides. Alright, so I had a junk arm, and all I did was I removed that rivet from the junk arm, and I cut the end off of it. There's a little washer, which is on this side now. So it was a little too big, so I kind of shaved it. It's aluminum, so it's real easy to work with. I kind of shaved it till it fit in there through the hole. Came through the other side, and then there was also a little washer that they have on those wrist pins on the Megos. So it stuck up, I don't know, maybe like 1/8 of an inch or something. And so I put the washer on. I put a sturdy piece of metal or a punch or whatever I did on it. And I took another punch, and I just actually I hit this with a hammer, and I basically flattened it out. You can see it's pretty flat. And then I took a punch with a pointed end on it, and I kind of did that so it kind of flared out a little bit, and then I hit it down a little bit more with the hammer, and it kind of mushroomed over the top of that washer. So basically, I mean, the way the battery sits, this is the one that sits on this side, and then that little dot there, it sits there, so it doesn't interfere at all with the battery. So that's not going to be a problem. And what's kind of cool is when I put it back together just to test to see if everything worked, it makes kind of a neat sound. So there you go. So that's where we sit at the moment. I'm currently using some peroxide, trying to whiten the body of the motorcycle. The chrome is it's drying, and all that's really left is just reassembly. I'm just kind of waiting for things to congeal. So stay tuned. Okay, so just a little minor setback, nothing throw everything up in the air about, but I don't know if you recall, but right here there was a little boss that goes like that, and that's where the switch goes for basically to make it work. And a little screw, tiny little screw goes in there to hold everything down. Well, that was cracked, so I glued it. And then when I got everything together, it didn't really seem to hold. Once I put the batteries and everything in there, it was like too much pressure, and it beep, snapped off, unfortunately. So just my luck. Anyway, so I'm going to have to reinforce that. So I haven't decided if I'm going to replace this piece of plastic and glue another piece on there, maybe something bigger. I haven't quite figured that part out yet. I'm thinking of maybe putting a nut and bolt in just to strengthen it up. It won't get in the way of anything. but it's kind of a critical function to make the whole thing work right. As you can see, it's been going back together very nicely, and it actually was working for about 3 seconds before the switch popped off. The peroxide cleaned it up pretty nicely. It took a lot of the yellow off. I didn't leave it on too long. I probably could have put it out there for another few hours with another coat of it, but you know what? It looks good enough. I can see where a lot of it's gone. It's just maybe just the slightest tinge of it still there, but I'm happy with it the way it is. It looks a lot better. Anyway, so I have to fix this switch area here and put the rest of it back together, and then I got to figure out what I'm going to do with the stickers. I tried to find someone online that maybe either had already designed these or would maybe maybe print them up for me. But of course, as usual, nobody in the Mego groups is helpful. They're all whatever. I don't want to go there. But which is why I hate to help people, because of the way that I get treated because of those museum assholes. But sorry, I'm starting to go off on that tangent again. If you're thinking of being a Mego collector and fan and you're just starting out, don't bother. You fall into one of two groups. You either fall into the kiss asses or the blacklisted. So guess which side I'm on. Anyhow, so let's get back to fixing this, and I'm assuming, unless something else goes wrong, when I come back, you're going to see it complete, and then I will demonstrate the finished cycle to you with a vintage Fonzie. Okay, well, one more little update before we toss this all back together. I did successfully repair this broken switch post. I tried a couple of things using scraps of old plastic. I couldn't get anything quite right, so what I should have just done in the first place was I just 3D printed a piece kind of like this, but for the same size that would fit in this switch. Didn't matter what color, because you ain't going to see it. In fact, you can't see it, but it's blue. But anyway, as you can see, I used a nut and that screw. Let me get this open here, I'll show you. I'm not even sure how much you're going to be able to see it, but if you look down in there, you can see where I used a screw from the bottom and then came up to the top with, I used a washer underneath the head of the screw, and then I used another washer underneath the nut. I mean, as you can see, works even better than before. Nice and firm. And I tested it with the battery, and it does not interfere at all. And I tested it with the fuel tank for the bike, and it does not interfere with that at all. So it is a perfect fix. So I got to, again, as I said, I'm going to see if I can redo these stickers. If not, I'll just reuse the old ones, but I want to see if I can make them look a little nicer. I'll probably reuse the one from the back here, because there's really nothing wrong with it. And maybe the one that was here, it did have like kind of a little scratch in it, but it looked way better than the one that was on this side, which was all faded. So I want to see if I can at least do the one for this side. Anyway, yeah, and I have to tighten up these handlebars just a little bit, but I'm kind of waiting to get most of the rest of this done before I tap those little speed nuts back to snug them up there under here. Yeah, that's it. Just got to put a couple more parts on, and we're done. So stay tuned. Alright, so what do y'all think? I remade the stickers. They're not perfect. They're not a 100% exact match, but they're pretty darn close. They probably would fool anybody just looking at them. As you can see, redid the tank. The rear license plate is the original sticker. And I did save the originals. I'm not going to throw them away. And they're still of value, but I think they look a lot better with the remade ones that I did. And I only touched up chrome on the side pipes and engine as needed instead of redoing the whole thing. The worst part was really just the what do you call those things? Stirrups or whatever, wherever you put where he puts his boots in there. And that was where the most wear was. I'd almost say that the new chrome I put on looks better than the old chrome, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to go that far, but I think it came out pretty good. And I did test the switch and everything, and it does work and makes a hell of a racket with that crazy little contraption that I fixed inside there that makes that tickety noise. So all that's left is to get Fonzie and hop him on and take a video, and hopefully it actually does what it's supposed to do. I actually have not tested its movement. I just tested that it actually turns on and turns off. So we'll do that, and I'll say thanks for watching now, and hope you come back for more great videos. Oh, there was one thing I forgot to show. When I did these stickers, I also had to recreate the ones for the battery compartment, which is totally shot. Just wanted to show that one. Well, you can see in there, but it's not a 100% exact match, but it's pretty darn close. I don't think anybody would really know. And I even kind of aged the background of it so it looked a little slightly yellowed.